All right, welcome to The Explainer. So today we're doing more than just listening to a song. We're actually stepping into a full-blown psychological mystery. It's all wrapped up in this track called Rainblack, which is kind of like a lyrical confession box. We're going to peel it back layer by layer, and what we'll find is this incredible story about, well, the darkest, most hidden parts of ourselves. So yeah, let's just dive right in.
Everything really kicks off with this one line. And yeah, it feels like it's aimed at us, the listener. But what's really going on here, it's the narrator asking themselves that question. And that one question, it's the engine driving this entire song. So for us, it's the perfect place to start.
So the big question is, right? Who, or maybe what, is this Rainblack? The song, well, it doesn't waste any time. It throws us right into the deep end, introducing this really mysterious character.
Okay, the first thing that just jumps out at you is this massive contradiction, right? I mean, a shadow in the clear of day, a black spot in the sun, that's not your typical shadow, the kind that lurks in the corners. No, this is a darkness that's front and center. It's impossible to miss. It's like a flaw that's most visible when everything else is shining. It's not hiding, it's making a statement.
So how do we even begin to unpack a paradox like that? Well, to do it, we're going to need a key. And luckily, we can borrow one from the world of psychology, specifically from the famous psychologist Carl Jung. Jung had this concept he called the shadow self. And a great way to think about it is it's kind of like a psychological basement. It's where we shove all the parts of ourselves we don't want to deal with. Our envy, our anger, our deepest insecurities and fears. We just push them down there, hoping to forget they exist. We hide them not just from other people, but from ourselves, too.
And this really gets to the heart of the conflict. See, we all have what Jung called a persona. That's the polished, curated mask we wear for the world. It's our public face. But right behind that mask, there's the shadow. It's all the stuff we've disowned, the stuff we don't want in our public profile. And what makes this song so incredible is that Rainblack isn't just a song. It's like someone gave the shadow a microphone and said, "Go ahead, speak."
Okay, so now that we have the shadow self key, let's go back to the lyrics. Because once you look at them through this lens, you realize, wow, they're not just hinting at the shadow. They're basically a word-for-word confession, straight from the shadow's mouth.
And right off the bat, the shadow tells us what it's all about: destruction and fear. It's the part of us that wants to smash things, to snuff out reason. That's the killer of delight. And it's also the source of that raw animal terror we sometimes feel, the screaming of the night.
And listen to this. It perfectly describes the things we're most ashamed of. That potential for aggression, for being treacherous. That's the man who carries the knife. But also, that cringing shame we feel about our own weakness, our own fear. That's the coward. I mean, these are the exact feelings we try to pretend we don't have.
And then it just says it outright. The shadow is where we keep the truth I hide. It's that voice of self-sabotage. It's the traitor in your fight. You know that feeling when you're working so hard for something, but some part of you seems to be working against you, tripping you up? Yeah, that's the shadow.
So when you put all these pieces together, the lyrics are basically giving us a police sketch of the shadow self. It's destructive. It's treacherous. It's a secret keeper and a self-saboteur. It's where our shame lives, and it's full of all these painful contradictions. But, okay, just when you think you've got it figured out, right? You think, all right, Rainblack is the villain of the story. But then, the song pulls the rug out from under you. It reveals something way more complicated, and honestly, kind of more terrifying. Turns out, the shadow isn't just some enemy you can defeat.
Because what we're actually hearing isn't a monologue. It's a duet. The lyrics describe this intense, codependent dance between the conscious self, the I, and its shadow, Rainblack. They're tangled up together, locked in this bizarre struggle just to survive.
So first we get this line. Now on the surface, this makes perfect sense, right? A shadow can't exist without a light to cast it. So, of course, the darkness needs the light to survive. Simple enough. But then, bam, the bombshell drops. The conscious self, the I, admits it needs the shadow just as badly. Neither can I. And this is a massive psychological truth. The idea is you can't actually be a whole, complete person if you deny your own darkness. A person with no shadow isn't a saint, they're just a cardboard cutout. They're not real. And that right there, that's the song's biggest reveal. The goal isn't to kill your shadow. In fact, trying to destroy it just makes it angrier and more powerful. No, the real path to being a healthy, whole person isn't about fighting it. It's about integrating it. It's about finally turning around, looking it in the eye and saying, okay, you're a part of me too.
Okay, so what does that actually look like in real life, this whole integration thing? Well, the last verses of the song give us a pretty raw, honest picture. And spoiler alert, it is not a quick fix. It's a lifelong, day-in, day-out process.
I mean, this line is just brutally honest. After everything that's been confessed, the narrator basically throws up their hands and admits they're completely lost. Because the second you start to accept your shadow, you realize that the person you thought you were, you didn't really know them at all. That simple, neat little self-image gets shattered, and all that's left is this complicated, confusing, ongoing mystery.
And this turns into a kind of relentless daily cycle. This isn't a story with a neat little happily ever after. It's about the daily grind. First, you have the confrontation. You just have to accept that you're stuck with this whole, complicated person. Then comes the daily death. That's the death of your ego, of that perfect, simple idea of yourself you used to have. And finally, you realize there's no running away from it. This is you now. And this, for me, this might be the most powerful line in the whole song. It completely reframes everything we've just heard. Because facing your own shadow, it isn't pretty. It's not glamorous. It's a messy, quiet, really difficult fight. But in its own strange way, it's maybe the most heroic thing a person can ever do. It's the story of how you actually become a whole person. So, we've broken down the song, we've decoded the mystery of Rainblack, but the question the song leaves hanging in the air, that one is for us. We all have that black spot in the sun. We all have a shadow. This song just gave it a voice. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? If you really stopped and you really listened to your own hidden self, what would you hear it say?